Today I would like to share my thoughts on hand splitting versus using a hydraulic splitter. None of these thoughts are new, but this video is fairly spontaneous and my thoughts are not particularly well organized. So hopefully I can share those thoughts while splitting wood in a coherent and trackable manner. What I don't want this video to be is, like so many others that are out there, essentially just a big brag session. I get on here, I go ham on my wood pile, and I go, look how much faster it is, you should split wood by hand. I don't think that that approach is particularly helpful. You know, if you were trying to convince somebody of the benefits of going for a nice walk every day, you wouldn't show them you know, an Olympic athlete and be like, look how healthy he is. I think a lot of people are going to find that somewhat antagonistic and probably more demotivating than motivating. Oof, that was a bad aim. And I think that those videos kind of feed into the first big misconception that I want to kind of address, and that would be that hand splitting wood has to be fast to be beneficial. You know, I think a lot of people see videos like that and they go get their maul and they go out to the wood pile and they go ham on the wood pile for 20 minutes. They totally burn themselves out. It's a very miserable experience. And then they go, I'm going to keep using the hydraulic splitter. That was not enjoyable. I don't believe that hand splitting needs to be fast to be beneficial. Look at my approach here. You know, this is a nice, relaxing Saturday afternoon for me, as most of my hand splitting sessions are. You know, today is a particularly nice day. I've got a nice little drizzle, a lovely pitter patter of rain on the roof, and this is a time of meditation, an enjoyable, regenerative time for me. I look forward to doing this. And this approach produces me plenty of firewood. This is well over 2 years of firewood right now. I'm well ahead of my curve. I'm aiming for 3rd year supply. And then after that, I might actually be able to even ease back a little bit from my current rate of production, which is not very taxing on me. So anyways, I mean, we've already touched on some benefits, but that was primarily meant to be kind of an introductory statement there, but we've already explored some benefits. I've never heard anyone talk about running a hydraulic splitter as being an enjoyable, relaxing period of time. Most people have to shove loud music in their ears to not lose their sanity while standing for hours on end doing the same incredibly repetitive, mundane action. You know, our modern life is full of things like that are like, oh, this makes my life so much easier, and yet you're miserable doing it. I don't feel like I'm particularly old-fashioned, but man, some of the old ways are just simply better. You know, and some people can't do it. I'm not here to rag on anybody for not being able to do it, but I would strongly implore anyone who can even pick up an axe to consider what I'm saying and maybe give it a try. Even if you don't do your whole thing, just go out there and start doing small sessions, you know, manageable sessions. Don't burn yourself out. Just go out there and pick some easy logs, have a nice time. And if you got to go back to the hydraulic splitter to meet your, you know, required production level, then go ahead. But yeah, anyways, all right, so trying to get into a more organized presentation on the benefits. I think the first one would be, well, it's not the first one, we've already covered some, but I think a big one for a lot of people to consider would be the cost savings. Now, this is pretty obvious. A lot of you are probably going, duh, but you know, a lot of times the basic and obvious things are not given the respect that they deserve. You know, you have the startup cost for hand splitting. If you're buying a whole brand new kit with, you know, a large variety of tools, different axes and mauls and picks and various things, and getting yourself set up with some kind of a stump, a tire stump, whatever you're doing, all of that for a very nice hand splitting setup is going to be a tiny fraction of the cost of, goodness, this one is stubborn. It's going to be a tiny fraction of the cost of even a pretty low-end hydraulic splitter. Now, this might not be doing my case much good right now, but I would say, if this is too much for you, put the log aside and save it for another time. Save it for the hydraulic splitter if you have one. Save it for when you feel like it, whatever. I feel like it. I'm at a point in my journey with hand splitting where the stubborn ones are a mountain to be climbed, an obstacle to be overcome, and I certainly find a great deal of satisfaction in finally cracking the thing open. But if that's not enjoyable to you, set it aside. There's 100 other logs you could split, I'm sure. Anyways, where was I? Yeah. Startup cost is significantly smaller for a hand splitting setup, even a pretty extravagant one. And then hand splitting has essentially no operating or maintenance costs. You know, the food in your belly that you are already eating. You know, you might incur some repair costs if you break an axe or something, but the savings are so significant that having to buy another axe is hardly anything to bat an eye at. I have multiple axes, you know. Yeah, I don't think that one needs to be split. So meanwhile, a hydraulic splitter, you gotta put fuel in it. You gotta change the oil. And the potential repair costs are pretty significant. The potential downtime if something does break, is something to consider. You know, if you buy a good hand splitting setup and you get yourself an extra axe, even if you break one, it doesn't put you down out of production. You can keep going. Grab your spare axe. Buy another one next time you're in town, whatever. Order it off Amazon. Buy that high-end $300 to $600 handmade one from whoever you like. You're still way lower in cost than a hydraulic splitter. And kind of right adjacent to that vein of thought, you know, many people are heating their homes with firewood in a attempt to establish some kind of independence from the system, you know. And I think that having something that relies on gas provided by the system is one step farther away from that independence that a lot of people are seeking by doing firewood. So hand splitting your wood is going to remove that dependence on the system, and it's going to set you up, you know, to be better prepared in other areas if some need arises to be completely independent of the system. If you're stronger and healthier from all of your hand splitting, when that time does come, then, you know, getting behind a crosscut saw is going to be a far less painful adjustment to make, yeah, if you've been hand splitting, you know. So yeah, pretty significant cost savings, independence from a system that a lot of people are doing this for the sake of trying to escape anyways. And now we get into health benefits. So consider this. You're standing at a wood splitter. For 99% of us, that posture at that wood splitter is slightly compromised. Your lower back is going to be engaged for hours on end as you stand in this slightly compromised position at that wood splitter. And that compromised position is only going to be, you know, broken up by you turning around and picking up a log that fairly frequently could be in excess of your reasonable weight limit. So you're performing lifts often incorrectly and somewhat frequently in excess of your reasonable limit, and standing for many hours in between those lifts with a compromised position that puts the vast majority of strain on your back. You know, a lot of things in our modern world are like this. They seem like they make our lives easier, and yet for some reason we're worse off. There are more people with back problems now than there ever have been, and it's because all these seemingly more efficient, more easy, you know, better whatever, are not really that good for you. So I think in the long run, a lot of these things are far more detrimental to our health, not only physical but mental health as well. You know, I don't know anybody that talks about using a hydraulic splitter with any pleasure. In fact, there's a meme floating around out there, the Midor Meme. One does not simply split wood without music, you know, and that music's not only there to protect your hearing, which is in danger if you're not diligent to protect it while you're splitting wood with a hydraulic splitter, but that music's there to protect your sanity too. You know, and as I already mentioned at the beginning of this is an enjoyable time for me. Very enjoyable. I've never heard anybody say that running a hydraulic splitter was enjoyable. So you got to compromise posture, compromising lifts that you're performing. You're standing around in a noxious fume cloud, exhaust cloud for hours on end. I cannot imagine that that's any good for your lungs. With your ear protection on, most likely with music blaring to protect your hearing and your sanity, and sometimes not even protecting your hearing because you're trying to drown the sound of the motor out with music. Meanwhile, I'm over here peacefully, meditatively, enjoyably splitting wood with my maul or my axe, whatever. Everything I'm picking up is already split for the most part. My movements are broken up. They are dynamic, aerobic. They build strength and improve my heart health. And while the exercise itself might not seem in the moment to be the most enjoyable thing, especially if you don't do it very much, in the long run, I do think that you can come to enjoy it. I think most people who put proper effort into this will enjoy it. You know, if you look around YouTube at various channels and communities out there centered around hand splitting, you'll find them full of happy, content people who will just sit there and rave about how happy they are they started splitting wood by hand and how much better it's made their life. It's pretty well proven that physical exercise does not only improve physical health but mental health. There's all kinds of important chemicals, hormones that the body secretes during and after exercise that are very good not only for your body but for your brain. You know, hailing back to that point about modern commodities making our life so much easier and yet we're so miserable. You know, our bodies are missing out on a lot of those things that they're supposed to be doing. Why do you think mental health is at an all-time low? Why do you think suicide rates are so high? You know, I look at the hydraulic splitter like a 9 to 5. I don't think it's particularly fulfilling. There's not really a whole lot you can learn or improve upon. The majority of what you learn with running a hydraulic splitter involves not chopping your fingers off. And as far as increasing productivity or efficiency, there's very little you can do. Meanwhile, hand splitting, as I've said, very dynamic and all of that, but there's a lot that you can learn about wood that will improve your efficiency and productivity. Learning to read grain structures and knots and branches, to read checking in the log, all of these sorts of things you can learn, and you can get better at identifying them and making proper judgments on where to split, things like that. And then you have the physical improvement as you get stronger and more durable in the activity. You know, all of these things are very satisfying things to witness yourself growing in. Again, something I see lots of people in the YouTube channels and various communities, you know, they talk of their love of the improvement that they've made over the however long they've been splitting wood. You know, it's a engaging challenge that's quite fulfilling to gain mastery in. And every time you think you're there, you're going to learn something new. Oh, I don't need a splitting stump. Ooh, there's a whole other range of motions I can go through to save even more time and energy. And even though I've been doing this for in excess of 20 years, maybe even pretty close to 25 years now, there are still things that I learn, and it's very enjoyable. All right, well, I think that pretty well covers it. It's cheaper, it's more independent from the system, it's more fulfilling, it's better for your health. Yeah. And if you get into it and you enjoy it and you push yourself in it after you've come to realize the ways that it improves you, and you start to push yourself, eventually it'll be faster. I'm pretty sure that even at my current rate right here, which is super relaxed, I'm able to speak while I'm doing this. I'm not winded. I'm not building any blisters currently. This is a very, very enjoyable time for me. Very relaxed. And I'm pretty sure I'm at least matching the rate of production of a wood splitter. And if I ever need it, that speed is accessible to me, but like I said, it's not necessary, and not even remotely necessary. It's a cherry on top for those who are cut out for it. But yeah, I think that's enough. If you have any questions, there's a comment section down there. I'm sure you know how it works. And I'm sure I'll do more videos on firewood. There's all kinds of tools and techniques, and oh man, there's so much to explore. So yeah, have a nice day.